This is outside of my house, and this is gonna be quick. Disclaimer, this is my opinion about this book. This is a very spoilery review. Nothing about my review is for the author or anybody who knows the author. Everything about this review is for me and anybody who would like to watch it. And anybody who can take anything away from the things that I have to say. Yep, so that's it. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I say back to like my intro video is posted. It's not posted yet. So today we're going to be talking about ACOTAR. Let me get my notes pulled up. Okay, today we're going to be talking about ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. So I read this book, finally. It's very hyped up, like overly hyped. And I was, for those who know me, if it's overhyped, I'm not going to do it purely out of stubbornness. So I did not jump on the bandwagon. What is that? For a very long time because I was like, no, thank you. I would rather not. So I finally did. And so far I've read A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury, and A Court of Wings and Ruin. And most of the novellas, Starlight, Frost and Starlight. And I have thoughts. So, ACOTAR. If I could sum it up into one word, I would say it's fine. Or cake. Like, if you can shut your brain off, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. So, ACOTAR opens and we're with Feyre. And Feyre is hunting. Why? We learn because her family used to, this chair is going to be a problem for me. We learn, sit please, sit. We learn that her father used to have a lot of money and then he lost it all on a very poor business decision. And so Feyre, as the youngest sister, is hunting to feed her family so they don't starve, which is a little, what the fuck? I hope we're far enough into the video. Side note, I cuss a lot, so hopefully we are far enough into the video. I can't monetize my channel, so we don't have to be far enough into the video for me to cuss. That's awesome. I need you to stop moving me, and I need you to sit down. Okay, Feyre's hunting. So it's like a deer, wolf. She sees them at the same time, and she's like, I wonder if that's a fairy. But also, my family is starving, and we have no effing money, so I'm going to kill it. So she kills it. She kills a wolf. She kills a deer. She skins them both. So she goes home, and her dad's like, oh my god, Feyre, you caught a deer. This is so... Caught a deer. Shot a deer. You shot this deer. This is awesome. Now we can eat, and we can have a little bit of money. And Elaine is like, oh, we're not that poor. Elaine bothers me because she's so naive about everything. I wonder if I hold this right here, if it will make it easier to hear me over him. Okay, it's fine. So we're just going to have to deal with that in the background because he's being good. This is him being good. If he's being naughty, it's just going to make the video more chaotic, like my intro video. And I don't have anything set up in my spare bedroom to have like a mildly aesthetically pleasing background in there. So we just have to deal with the chewing. I'm sorry. Okay, so can you flip over, please? Thank you. So Elaine bugs the shit out of me because it's one of her sisters. So she has two sisters. Feyre has two sisters, Nesta and Elaine. Nesta, in the beginning, annoys the shit out of me because she is the most stuck-up bitch that I've ever seen in my life in a book. Maybe not in my life, but it's bad. And Elaine is just stupid. So, I mean, that's that. So, Nesta is like, her dad's like, good job, Farah. Now we can eat. And Nesta snorts about it and is like, why does she get praise for killing a fucking deer? And I'm like, well, bitch, you're doing absolutely nothing to keep your family alive. So if you would like to starve, then go right ahead and stop your sister from doing that. Anyway, so their dad goes through this whole thing where he's like, I'm gonna reclaim my wealth. And Nesta's like, no, you're fucking not, you dumb bitch. But so Farrah's like looking around the shelter and she's like, why is there no wood chopped? Like, we need a fire to stay alive. It's the middle of winter. We are all going to die if we don't have wood. Nesta, I thought I asked you to chop some wood. And Nesta's like, fuck you. I'm not chopping wood because I'm too prissy. And Farrah's like, Elaine, chop some fucking wood. This is terrible. This is terrible how this is going. Anyway, so she does. She ends up doing that. So she skins the deer and the wolf, and they process the wolf and everything. And so they go into town, and um, they get accosted on their way into town by the children of the blessed. And I really, really like that concept. That would be a good thing for her to make a novella on, is like the forming of the children of the blessed, because they come up later in a book, but they're like not even remotely integral, and everything is about being in Prithian. So having them was almost pointless if you're not going to do anything with them. So this one Children of the Blessed Lady is like, come with us, let's go, and we'll worship the fairies, and they'll take you home and they'll love you forever. And Nesta's like, get the hell off of me. See this iron bracelet? She's like, see this iron bracelet, bitch? Fuck your fairies. I'm not even lying. That's essentially what she does. It's pretty funny. At that point, I was like, I like Nesta. I like Nesta for that. So Feyre goes, I need to move this table closer to me. So they go into town. They avoid the Children of the Blessed. And Feyre walks up to a mercenary, female mercenary. And she's like, would you like to buy these pelts? I have a deer pelt and I have a wolf pelt, keep clothing to keep you warm. Do you want to buy it so you can have it turned into like clothing or something else? And the mercenary is like, sure. And she gives her a fuck ton of money. And Feyre's like, this is too much money. Like, my deer and my wolf pelts are not worth this. And the mercenary's like, I was in your shoes once, and someone nice, you are now being too loud. Please stop being loud. And the mercenary's like, when my family was without and needed help, someone helped us. And so I just felt like this is a good opportunity to pay that forward, essentially. So they go back home and they're like big chillin'. And then this huge golden beast just like bursts through the door. It is like, which one of you killed him? And they're like, what the fuck? It's a fairy. And so yeah, okay. The beast reveals that the wolf was indeed a fairy named Andrus. I don't know if he names Andrus that early. So the beast demands payment for this death because it was a fairy death, and he's like, you can survive. I won't kill you if you come and live in Prithium with me for the rest of your natural life. And she's like, all right, I will go. I will go with you. And so she goes with him, and then he's like, get on the horse. Get on the horse. And she's like, why is this horse not afraid of this beast? This is so weird. And I'm like, bitch, it's a fairy. Obviously, that's why the horse is fine. But so they go and they go all the way back. And as they're going, she's like, wow, it's getting warmer and there's birds and shit. Hi, welcome to the spring court where it's eternally spring. So they get there and he like turns back into himself and she's like, damn, this guy is a fairy. The beast was a fairy. Weird. And I'm like, yes, the beast was a fairy. So oh yeah, that's another thing. So she realizes that it's very odd when he turns into a human. Well, Faye turns back into a humanoid figure. from the beast that he has a mask on, and she's like, why do you have a mask on? And he's like, it's part of a blight upon magic. So people with magic is who it affects. And she's like, oh, that really sucks for you. I'm sorry. It really sucks for you. I'm sorry. And she's like, oh my God, I wonder if the blight will affect me. They're like, the blight is spreading. And she's like, will it spread to my homeland? Well, first of all, your homeland is made of humans who don't have magic. And I really hate this. Okay. So when they get to when they get to Prithian, she's like, oh my God, this sky is periwinkle. And Sarah J. Maas is describing colors with like periwinkle and pumpkin and magenta, because you can't just be like blue and orange and pink. I don't remember what color periwinkle is. Alexa, what color is periwinkle?
Periwinkle is a light shade of blue with a hint of purple.
Okay, so I was right. Blue and orange. And what was the other color? Magenta, pink. Like, you can't just be like, it was the most brilliant color of blue I had ever seen or something. So that really bothered me. He leads her into the house and she meets Lucian, who's like his right hand man. He's wearing a fox mask. It's irrelevant. And then she realizes that all of the housekeepers and everybody is wearing a mask. And he's like, it's the blight, homie. Uh, and so they eat supper and she goes to bed, or she goes straight to bed. I think she goes straight to bed this time. It's supposed to be a Beauty and the Beast retelling. So like the only meal they ever consume together is supper, because I'm Beauty and the Beast. He's like, you must eat supper with me. Anyway, can you not do that and be good now, please? So she goes to go to bed and she's like, what if they come in here? So she rigs this like elaborate booby trap, which makes no sense with the curtains. And so then the next morning, Alice comes in, the housekeeper lady, whose name is spelled ALIS, by the way, which is very odd to me. Can you two stop it? So I'm gonna just hold him, so maybe he'll be good. So Alice comes in the next morning and she helps her get dressed, and she's like, what's that line from Beauty and the Beast? Something about the master being cranky. No, I'm just kidding. So she goes to supper, and while her and Alice were getting her ready, she was like, I don't want to wear these fucking dresses. I want some fucking pants. So she finds her some pants. She wears her pants, and Lucian's like, oh, you couldn't deign to wear like a dress like a lady? And Tamlin's like, it's easier to kill us in pants. And I'm like, fuck right, it's easier to kill y'all in pants. She realizes very quickly that Lucian wants no part of her existence and hates her. Okay, where were we? We were at, I don't blame Lucian's hatred of her, because she doesn't know that Tamlin has been sending his people over the wall, disguised as wolves, for 49 years. 49 years he's been sacrificing them, because a lot of them don't come back. And so Lucian's hatred, so he asks her if she killed Andrus because it was a fight, or if it was just cold-blooded murder. And she was like, well, it wasn't cold-blooded murder, and it wasn't a fight. I saw a wolf. I thought it was going to eat the deer that I needed. I shot it. It stared at me. I shot it in the eye with an ash arrow, just in case it was a fairy. Like, come on, girl. So that happens. She goes back to her room. And then that night, she sees, what do they call it? The bogey, something like that. A creature that looks like her dad. She thinks it's her dad, and it's like beckoning her to follow it. So she's like, I'm gonna follow this thing that looks like my dad in the middle of Prithian. Like, of course it's not your dad. What are you thinking? So she's going, and then she feels a hand on her shoulder, and it's Tamlin. He's like, bitch, that's not your dad. Like, and her and Lucian have been getting closer, because she asked Lucian if she could go on hunts with him. And so they ride through the forest together and have all kinds of fun doing that. And so they're getting closer. she does eventually tell him that she likes to paint. And so he does whatever Tamlin High Lord people do. And you never really know what he's doing behind the scenes because he doesn't ever involve her in anything, which is really fabulous. And so she is just absolutely losing her shit. And so Lucian's like, there's a creature that you can catch, and it'll tell you things. It's called the Suriel. And he's like, so what you do is you go to the kitchen and you get some raw chicken, and then you're a hunter, lay a trap for it. So she does. So she catches the Suriel, and she asks it her questions, and as she's finishing her questions, there's like ominous twig snapping, and then they turn around and there's another type of fairy called the Naga, and there's 4 of them, and they want to kill the Suriel. So the Suriel's like, release me, human. And she's like, okay. So she shoots at the Naga, and then she shoots the line that the Suriel is snared in, and the Suriel escapes. And she is screaming, and Lucian's like, it's fine, you'll be fine, I'll be close by, so just scream and I'll come and rescue you. Well, Lucian hesitates because it's fucking Lucian. And she's like running for her life. And then Tamlin appears and he rips the Naga apart. It's like the wolf scene in Beauty and the Beast when she's, except for she wasn't running away, she was trying to catch the Suriel, but in Beauty and the Beast when she runs away. And then he appears and he saves her from the wolves and he's injured and all that fun stuff. And then she bandages his wounds, you know, like in Beauty and the Beast. And it's all cute. And everybody's like, oh my god, I love it. It's really not terrible. It's really not. So then he's like, we're going to go on a picnic tomorrow. So they go on a picnic. And the picnic's cute. They're joking around. The Suriel told her, stay with the High Lord. And she's like, what High Lord? And then she's like, oh my god, Tamlin's a High Lord.
Oh my god.
So they go on a lunch, and she calls him High Lord. And he's like, so the Suriel had nothing to tell you, huh? And then Lucian pipes up with something smart, and she's like, you don't want to know what the Suriel said about you. And it's like a whole thing, and it's funny. So then Tamlin's like, come here, let me show you something. And he shows her this like pool that looks like starlight. And she's like, oh my god, it's a pool of starlight. And so he starts taking off his clothes, and he's like, well, we're going to go swimming. And I was like, yes, they're going to fuck in the pool of starlight. Yes. And then they don't. And then they don't. Whatever, to each their own. So then more things happen, just regular, boring shit. And then she's in the house one day, and Tamlin bursts in with a screaming fairy on his back, like dragging him in. And she realizes that this fairy used to have wings, and these wings are no longer attached to this fairy. And they're not like sliced off, they're like ripped and jagged, and it's very traumatic. But this fairy is not going to survive. Leave the seashells alone. This fairy is not going to survive, and they know that. So she holds his hand and she tells him that it's going to be okay and he's about to be in a better place. And she comforts this fairy and she holds his hand until he dies. She holds his hand while she feels blood soak into his slippers. She holds his hand forever. And then finally, Tamlin's like, Farah, he's gone. And Farah's like, all right, fine. So she lets go, and Tamlin's like, why would you do that? And she said, because nobody should die alone. Nobody deserves to die alone, and I wouldn't want to die alone. And that got me, not necessarily because it's like big and profound writing, but because for what I do for a job, I take care of the elderly at work and I've been doing it for 10 years, so I have helped is the wrong word, sat with a lot of people while they died and held their hand while they died. So that really got to me. But things start getting worse. Like, there's more creatures every day that Tamlin has to go fight and kill, and they're like, the blight is getting worse. But in the middle of that, he's still doing nice things to her. Like, she's learning words, so he writes her limericks with the words that she doesn't know because he finds a piece of paper in her room that has words on it. And he's like, "What are those?" And she's like, "They're words I don't know." So he writes her limericks with the words that she doesn't know, and then they get progressively dirtier, and it was funny. And I know everybody hates Tamlin, and don't get me wrong. I have strong feelings about him. Mostly in a negative light, with a little bit of good sprinkled in. I am aware of who Tamlin is, but if this is the first time you've ever read this book, for this book, it makes sense. It's okay to think that Tamlin is the greatest thing that's ever existed in this book. They are like setting up bonfire things and stuff, and she's like, "What is going on out there? Like what?" And they're like, "We're getting ready to have a celebration." And Tamlin's like, "But I need you to stay in the house on this night. Like there's gonna be fairies everywhere. You won't be safe. I can keep you safe. You're protected under my dominion or whatever when you're in this house. But if you wander out there, I can't protect you from the other. I can't protect you from other fairies." So she's like, "Yeah, it's fine." But then she hears like music and she hears drumming and she's like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." And so she wanders down there, and then she, of course, like immediately gets grabbed by 3 creepy dudes. I mean, are they fairies? Yes, but they're still creepy dudes, okay? Greasy, nasty, creepy dudes. Anyway. And then she gets rescued by another dude who you find out later is Rhysand, which makes sense. And Lucian grabs her and Lucian finds her and he's like, "You can't be here. If he smells you, he's gonna come after you. Like, you can't be here. You need to be back at the house." So he takes her to the house and he's like, "Stay in your fucking room." And then later, she's like wandering around the house, not staying in her room. And Tamlin comes and he's like, "I could smell you and I searched everywhere for you, but I couldn't find you." And then he's like, "You need to do what you're told." And then he like bites her on the neck and like it shoves her up against the wall. It did it for me. So then that he ends it and then goes back to his room. And the next morning, Lucian's like, "Eyebrow wiggle. I can't wiggle my eyebrows right. I can't just do an eyebrow wiggle. My whole face moves." But he eyebrow wiggles at her and he's like, "What happened to your neck?" So I know that she painted and then she paints them as pigs and it's really funny and I thought it was funny. And then Tamlin's like playing music and she's like, "The way that his music filled me, it was so sensual and wonderful." And I'm like, I'm like, Tamlin's music isn't going to be the only thing that fills you. And I meant it. I mean, I wasn't wrong, but so the blight starts getting worse, and they're like hanging out one day, and they're like just lounging in the living room, drinking, and all of a sudden, Rhysand shows up. Rhysand. That was probably right in your ear. And so he walks in the house, and they're like, "Hide her." So Lucian like hides her behind him, and then like there's a shield thingy like around her so that she like blends it in and can't be seen. And it's not really memorable. Rhysand walks around in the room and he's like looking for her, and you can tell that he's looking for her, and he knows that she's there because he saw her on Calamai. Calamai, by the way, is like this thing where there's a ceremony, and like in order for magic to happen, Tamlin has to find a chick and like fuck her, and then he's like, "I couldn't." She's like, "Well, if you had to find a chick and fuck her, why couldn't it be me?" And he's like, "It couldn't be you because it wouldn't be nice. Like, it's primal and carnal and whatever. And she's a delicate little flower. She's not like other girls because she's a delicate little flower." Anyway, so back to Rhysand. Rhysand's like walking around, looking behind shit, and like he knows she's there. And they're like, "What are you looking for?" And he's like, "Third glass. Where's the third person? There's 3 glasses on your table. You're not real smart, are you?" And then like there is no one else. And then he gets over by Lucian and he's like, and snatch, there she is. Hello, you. What's your name? Human? And she's like, Claire Bedletter? I don't, Bedwetter. I don't remember what her last name was. But she gives up this Claire girl's name and he's like, interesting. So Ree's hand fucks off again. He mentions some ominous her. And they repeatedly, she overhears like Lucian and Tamlin talking all the time about her, and nobody will tell her, Feyre, who her is. Her is Amarantha. You'll find out after a bit. Anyway, so Tamlin's like, it's not safe for you here anymore. You have to go home. So he sends her home. Oh, and I forgot to leave that part out. The reason why she decided to stay for so long was because Tamlin was like, I have taken care of your family. They have money again. They have a nice house. They have more things than they could want. Everything is fine. And I modified their memory so that they think that you are with a sick aunt. So he sends her back to the human realm, and she finds out that Tamlin was in fact telling her the truth. And her family is extremely wealthy and very well cared for. And she knows that her father and her sisters have been glamored by Tamlin. Elaine is very, very like, I have a garden now and come see it, Vera. It's a baseballs. And Elaine is very, I said Elaine twice. Nesta is like standoffish. And in my brain, I was like, Nesta knows. It didn't work on her. Nesta's so goddamn stubborn. A bitch after my own heart that the glamour didn't work on her. And I was correct, but we're not there yet. So she feels not right. Like Elaine's like showing her garden, and the days pass and Nesta's avoiding her, and Elaine's like, I can cook again, and look, we have a maid, and like it's not the same. It's not what she wants. So she's just big chilling one day, and Nesta's like, I know that you were not visiting a dead aunt. Okay. And she's like, tell me about the beast. And she's like, oh, okay, fine. The beast is actually a high fae, and I've been living with him in Prithian, and I think I love him. And I was worried about the blight coming here, and but honestly, I'm really worried about him, and I think I want to go back. And she's like, okay, then go. So Nesta like helps her pack shit up and gets her on a horse, and she takes her back to the wall, and she's like, here you go, because Nesta tried. She tried to find Feyre. When she first went missing, she went to the wall because she knew that she got taken by a fairy, and she couldn't find her. So Nesta's all cranky about it. So Nesta takes her back to the wall because she knows where the hole is because she tried to hunt for her sister. Feyre gets back in, crosses the wall, goes through the hole, crosses the wall, and she makes it back to Springcourt. And when she gets back to Springcourt, everybody's gone. There's nobody there. There's like Tamlin's gone and Lucian's gone, and like workers are gone. Like everybody's gone. And then she runs into Alice, and Alice is like, my high lord's gone. I got some things to tell you. And so Alice tells her that the blight is actually a euphemism for Amarantha, the quote-unquote high queen of Prithian. And she tells her that Amarantha stole the powers, not completely stole the powers of the High Lords, but has diminished their powers by taking some of their powers. So they have very limited powers. And that she placed a curse on Tamlin and all of the Springcourt that could be broken by a woman who hated the Fae, declaring that she loved him. Which is why he sent, like, it was very specific, like, it had to be a person who would kill a Fae with hatred in their heart, had to then fall in love with him. So that's why for 49 years he was sending his, like, consorts over the wall, disguised as wolves, hoping that a woman would kill them with hate in her heart and then declare that she loves him. And I mean, she does love him, but there wasn't like a big whole I love you moment. It's like the rose in Beauty and the Beast, how the rose technically the last petal falls as he's dying, and she's like, I love you. Then it all magically gets fixed. So Feyre ends up going to the fairy court under the mountain, where she becomes a captive as well. And Amarantha gives her the chance to save Tamlin and free everybody by solving a riddle or completing 3 tasks. And so the riddle, actually, let me see if I can find this. Okay, so she's under the mountain. She's declared her love for Tamlin, and so she's like, you can do 3 trials on the full moon every single month. So it's like she'll be stuck under there at least 3 months, because every single full moon is when she gets to do her next challenge and her next task. And other than that, she will be locked in a cell. It's cold and dark and dank and under the ground. But she's like, or you can solve this riddle, and the riddle is as goes. There are those who seek me a lifetime. There are those who seek me a lifetime, but we never meet, and those I kiss, but who trample me beneath ungrateful feet. At times I seem to favor the clever and the fair, but I bless all those who are brave enough to dare. By large, my ministrations are soft-handed and sweet, but scorned I become a difficult beast to beat. For though each of my strikes lands a powerful blow, when I kill, I do it slow. So obviously, the answer to the riddle is love, but Feyre doesn't know that. Another thing, the reason why Tamlin was writing her limericks and talking to her about things like that is because she can't read. So anyway, so she gets shoved into her little jail cell, and then Amarantha's like, and for your first task, you have to defeat the Midgard worm. And so I'm picturing like the graboids from Tremors, but that's just me. So she's in a labyrinth, and she's like fighting the Midgard worm, and she's running through this maze, through this labyrinth. That's a maze. That's what a labyrinth is, if you didn't know. And she's running away from the worm, and she's like, this is not going well for me, guys. And she like runs, and then she falls into this pit with all these bones. So she like breaks the bones, snaps them in half to make them sharp, and then she like sets them in strategic places. And then she like uses bones to climb up out of the little mud pit that she's in. And then she goes and gets the worm's attention, and the worm chases her. And she jumps down, and then the worm follows her, and then the worm impales himself on the bones of the people that he's eaten before. It's fine. So she survived that task. She completed that task. Congratulations. 1 task done. She still can't figure out the riddle. And so I think that it's technically before she has to fight the Midgard worm. Amarantha threatens Lucian's life. He threatens Lucian's life if she doesn't tell her what her actual name is, because he's not going to tell, and she knows that. So she does. She gives her name to save Lucian's life. And there's another thing with like the Spring Court High Lord, where like he's been plotting against Amarantha and Rhys. She gets Rhys to she being Amarantha gets Rhys to go into his mind and find her the truth, which I mean, he lies to her, and you can tell everybody calls him Amarantha's whore because he is in her bed and he does her bidding. It's one of those things you can tell that he's reluctant, but he does it anyway. But he has like this whole I'm a bad scary guy facade that's too much like nobody who's big, bad, and scary tries that hard to make other people think that anyway. So there's this guy on TikTok who cosplays as Reese, and he's the face that I see when I read things about Reese, and he's not cute in my opinion. I do not find him attractive, so that makes this hard for me. So Reese is searching the mind of the summer court dude, and he finds the truth, lies to Amaranth about it, and then she's like, "We'll make him suffer," but he immediately kills him. He doesn't want him to suffer, and he lies. It doesn't save this person, but it does save the then future High Lord, who then in that moment becomes the High Lord of the Summer Court. His name is Tarquin. He'll be important in later books. So when fighting the Midgard worm, there we are. So when fighting the Midgard worm, they're all placing bets on her on who's gonna how long it's gonna take the worm to eat her and shit like that. But she breaks her arm, and so then she gets raised back up on this platform, and Amaranth was like, "Nobody thought you would win except for Resand here, who is the only person who bet that you would beat the Midgard worm." And Reese is like, "Thanks for making me a lot of money." But really, he's just like, So she gets taken back down to her cell with her broken arm. And Reese comes down. She's like miserable and she's upset. And she's like, "Everything hurts and I just want this to be over." And Reese is like, "I will make it be over for you, but you have to strike a bargain with me." And she's like, "What kind of a bargain?" And he's like, "You have to spend 1 week a month with me until I decide that we're done with this." And she's like, "I'm in so much pain and this arm is not going to heal in time for 2 months. And if it's another challenge like this, I'm not going to be able to do it with one arm. I need someone to save me. So, yes, I'll make a deal with you." So they make a deal. And it puts a tattoo on her left arm, I believe. It's her left arm. And everybody's like, "Oh my god, what the fuck?" So for her second task, she must successfully solve a puzzle and choose the correct lever. There's like 1, 2, 3 levers. And they're like in this pit, and she gets lowered down into this pit, and Lucian's in there, and he's chained up. And then the ceiling with like spikes starts coming down. And there's like riddles written on the wall, and the correct answer is the correct lever. And so she goes to like reach for a lever, and I don't remember if he says no or if like her hand gets hot or something. But he's talking to her through the bond that they now have. So the second challenge happens. Reese, through her head, cheats, and she's able to pull the correct lever like inches from her and Lucian being impaled by this ceiling with spikes. And then Reese is like, "Well, since we made a deal and nobody can know what our deal is, I'm going to make you dress up in slutty clothes and I'm going to parade you around and I'm going to get you drunk and we're going to have all kinds of fun." And she's like, "I really fucking hate him." So his little wraithy people, they come in and they get her wraithy. That sounded very similar to something else. Stop licking my leg. Thank you. So Caradwin and I don't remember what the other one's name is, get her ready and put her in these little wispy outfits that are like barely cover the nip and like barely cover the goods. And other than that, she's basically naked. And he parades her around and shows off her little tattoo and does it and makes her sit on his lap and gets her drunk and all kinds of stuff. And finally, now that we're not sitting, that's further away from me. So the third challenge comes, and like it comes in handy. Earlier in the book, Tamlin, or not Tamlin, Lucian or Rhysand, one of them makes a joke about Tamlin having a heart of stone. And you think it's irrelevant, and then it makes sense later because her third challenge is she says, I need you to kill 3 innocent Fae. If you kill 3 innocents, then all of your Spring Court people will be free. And all of these people will be free too. So she's like, I gotta free the Spring Court from the blight, this curse that they're under. I'm gonna free the Spring Court. So there's like a little man. That sounded terrible. There's like a young male fairy. And she stabs him in the heart. And then it's like she can feel the blood running down her hand. Anyway. So then she kills the second one. It's a woman. She's screaming. She's like, please don't kill me. Blah, blah, blah. So she kills her. Stabs her. The hood gets ripped off the third person. It's fucking Tamlin. She's like, no, I can't kill Tamlin. I love him. I love him so much. I can't kill him. And you're like, just fucking do it. Sorry, bro. So Amarantha's like, she's not going to be able to do it. And they're going to be stuck in it. I'm going to keep my curse. But she doesn't know that people intentionally, for some reason, have been repeatedly being like, Tamlin, you have a heart of stone. You have a heart of stone. And she's like, if I stab him in his heart of stone, he's going to live. So she does. She stabs him. And Amarantha rages. She's like, technically, you completed all 3, but I did not specify in my deal when they would be free. So they can be freed, but only when I say so. And so Amarantha, in a fit of rage, starts beating the ever-living shit out of Feyre. While everybody just stands there and watches, because everybody's deathly afraid of Amarantha. And Feyre goes, is the answer to the riddle love? And that immediately frees everybody. And then all hell breaks loose. It immediately frees everybody. Motherfucking Rhysand goes after her. Tamlin goes after her. And together, Tamlin and Rhysand kill Amarantha. They have their High Lord powers back. Pretty sure that Tamlin like cuts her head off or rips her head off or something. But everybody is... So Amarantha's been terrorizing them for 500 years. 500 years? That's a lot for like 50 years, 100 years, something like that. So everybody's relieved that someone was finally able to kill Amarantha, but because she freed them, it gave everybody the ability. Rhys wasn't, so the love thing, it freed the Spring Court immediately, but it didn't technically free everybody else. So Rhys, with what little powers he still possessed, distracted her basically long enough for Tamlin to be able to kill her, because it did free the Spring Court entirely, so Tamlin has his high fae powers back. But then they kill Amarantha, and all of the High Lords get their high powers back. But before they can kill Amarantha, I forgot about that. Before they kill Amarantha, she snaps Feyre's neck, which is what sends Rhys into a spiral where he starts trying to attack her. But the love thing had already happened, so Tamlin's already free. So together they kill her after she's killed Feyre. And Tamlin's like, oh my god, please don't die. And then all the High Lords give her like a little tiny grain of power. They just like drop it right there on her little heart. We're back. They drop it on her, and she comes back to life. She is made again. She comes back to life. Congratulations, you're alive. Also, now you're a fae. So you're better than you were before. Because you were a human before. Now you're not. And everything is all la-di-da. She is alive. You are such a doofus. So the 6 High Lords gift Feyre with healing light and immortality. And then Tamlin sets a bit of his golden light on her heart, resurrecting Feyre and transforming her into one of the High Fae. Congratulations, everybody's free. But she's like getting all cleaned up and everything, and they're all preparing to leave under the mountain and leave the torture of Amarantha behind. And she gets like a pull through her bond. She like feels a tug. So she follows the tug and she finds Reese and they're having a nice little conversation. And one thing that everybody thinks is that Under the Mountain was modeled after the place where Rhysand rules over the Night Court. It is modeled after his Court of Nightmares. So that's another reason why everybody hates Rhysand, because they're like afraid of him and his power. So her and Rhys have a nice conversation. She's like, "Sorry, buddy, gotta go." And he's like, "Me too." And he turns around and he looks at her weird, and then he like disappears. And no, sir, don't bark at that squirrel. Thank you. Hello. 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 Mom is almost done. I'm almost done. And so her and Tamlin go back, but now she has to reckon with her new life. She has to get used to being Fae because everything feels weird. Everything is longer and leaner and more eloquent, and she still stumbles. And she's got to come to grips with who she is and the fact that she is now with the High Lord of the Spring Court. And that is the end of ACOTAR. I have thoughts. So, in A Court of Mist and Fury, you learn why everybody hates Tamlin. So when this book ends, but nobody has ever talked about, in my opinion, the reasons why she was able to fall in love with Tamlin. Because when you go so long being deprived of any kind of love because her dad only ever cared about their money that they no longer have, and her sisters also don't give a shit about her, and they're like, "Oh, you brought us food? Congratulations. We're alive, and it's because of you, but nobody's going to love you. Nobody's going to care for you." She had a piece of shit mom who didn't give no fucks about her kids. All she cared about was parties and living it up. And when you feel like that, and then you go somewhere and someone gives you the attention that you think that you deserve, you're going to fall for them. They're going to love bomb the shit out of you, and you're going to fall for them, and you're going to do what they need you to do because they make you feel safe. And that's how Tamlin was able to do all the things that Tamlin was able to do. We are almost done with this video, and then I will take you outside. I can't wait until I get that room all fixed, and then you guys can stay out here while Mom is in there. Yeah. I get it. I felt that way for a very long time, so I understand how Feyre could fall for Tamlin. But, so, that is the description and my very long-winded video on ACOTAR. So that's ACOTAR. That's what happened. It's, like I said, it's fine. The writing is fine. It's like, if you eat cake, it's like cake. You enjoy it. If you shut your brain off and you don't think too hard, you can enjoy it. It's just, it's fine. It's fine. But if you like the chaos that was me not really reviewing ACOTAR, I guess I just kind of talked about it the whole time. Well, if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe and comment and hit the bell button so that you get notified when I post my next book review video. These are mostly just for me because I feel like I wanted something creative to do and I wanted to express how I felt while reading books. So here we are. And I suppose if you like it, I'll see you back next time. Next video should be A Court of Mist and Fury.